The reason why you can't manifest is because you're not feeding yourself enough bread. What are you talking about, Ra? Well, let me explain. Have you ever been in a situation where you were always lending a helping hand, like you were always, or even a listening ear, where you were making sure that everybody else ate and got fed, but you yourself didn't even eat? You forgot to feed yourself not even a piece of bread. Well, let's look at the word bread in the metaphysical sense. Bread means expansive thought, thought of substance, expanding consciousness. So you forgot to feed yourself thought of substance. This is why you're not manifesting. And we know from the first Hermetic principle that all is the mind, the universe itself is mental, that thought itself is consciousness. Some call thought God, some call thought Thoth, some call thought the law of one. Whatever you call it, know that it is the only power in this universe on all planes of existence. And you have access to it. You have access to thought directly inside of you. And we forget that. We forget to feed ourselves thoughts of substance, and then we can't manifest. But we have to understand that thought is the only cause. Consciousness is the only thing that has anything, does anything, or is anything. Consciousness is the constructor. We think about if we're trying to construct and build something. Thought is the constructor of the entire universe. Consciousness is the creator. Thought is the only cause, and you are the cause and the effect of all that you see in your world. This is the law of cause and effect. Whatever thought you begin with, you end up experiencing the results of that particular thought. Therefore, you're the cause of your problems, but you're also the cause of your solutions. Thoughts create the physical. You are creation experiencing itself. You are a soul having a human experience, not a human trying to have a spiritual experience. You know, those people that do all the outwardly expressions of things, right? They talk the talk. They're burning sage. They have all the crystals, and they have all the words to say, and the movements and the acting. And it doesn't matter because, you know, they're trying to create communities and followers, and they have all this ego that they're being run by. They're trying so hard to tap in and tune in, but they can't. And the reason is because you can't fake frequency. You can't fool frequency. You have to actually do the inner work. You cannot be an automaton, like a robot. Not now, not anymore, not in the age of Aquarius, where authenticity is the only thing that is going to resonate amongst the frequency of the planet. You are already a spiritual being. What are you doing? Unless you're a skinwalker or completely dismembered from your heart, you should know what it's like to have a soul. You are not a soulless individual, and you're definitely not a soulless individual if you're listening to me here and now. And please don't misconstrue or misinterpret what I say by burning sage and crystals. Yes, crystals, they hold vibration. We know that from the law of vibration that nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. But if you're not able to harness your own energy and contain it, it would be like pouring water into a bucket with holes in it. You can siphon and try to get as much in it, but you can't even contain it if you're doing all the things and not actually understanding who you are and what it takes. It's the same thing that people that have all these altars and different things like that, and all of these particular ways in which the days of the week and things have to be done in this regimented way, forgetting that our ancestors' DNA is directly inside of us. You are the altar. All you got to do is remember, tap in and tune in and activate the DNA within inside of you. And at times, you know, some of y'all might be saying like, well, Ra, I am doing everything. Like I'm doing all the work. I'm I'm using what I can, and it's just so frustrating. Like, oh, what am I not getting? And I think about it because I go through those same frustrations myself. And so I'd be thinking, like, what would Jesus do? You think Jesus ever got frustrated with himself? Because, the Bible is the manual of the mind. So let's refer back to the manual. And I'm only going to focus on one particular scripture today because I'm going to go deep into this scripture. In Mark 8:13-21, I'm going to read it first, and then I'm going to go back and decode it in the metaphysical sense. And then he left them, and getting into the boat again, departed to the other side. Now the disciples had forgotten to take bread. They did not have more than one loaf with them in the boat. Then he charged them, saying, "Take heed, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of the Herod." And they reasoned among themselves, saying, "It's because we have no bread." But Jesus, being aware of it, said to them, "Why do you reason because you have no bread? Do you not perceive? Do you not understand? Is your heart still hardened? Have you eyes, no eyes to see? And no ears to hear? Do you not hear? Do you not remember? When I broke the 5 loaves of the 5,000, how many baskets of full fragments did you take up?" And they said to him, 12. "Also, when I broke the 7 for the 4,000, how many large baskets of fragments did you take up?" And they said, 7. And he said to them, "How is it that you do not understand?" He was frustrated. But again, he wasn't talking to actual disciples. And then he went out and healed a blind man after that. And we're like, what? This doesn't make sense. He got frustrated and he went and performed a miracle. Now let's decode what this scripture actually means. And he left them, getting into the boat again. He's been in the boat before. What does boat mean? Boat means to turn your attention into the ship. What is a ship? You are the ship. You're the captain on this right side of the brain, the right side, the higher self. And how do we know that it was the right side of the brain? Well, we're going to find out in a moment. Now, the disciples forgotten to take bread. They forgot to take expansive thought. Even though Jesus put him up on game, right? He told them, beware of the leaven. Leaven means the sin, the hypocrisy, the corruption, the small amounts of things that spread and can permeate into the whole, just like when mold gets on bread and it ends up spreading. He was saying, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. Pharisees means the self-righteousness. When you become self-righteous and you have these judgmental attitudes and you focus on outward appearances rather than a genuine, authentic inner transformation, you sleeping on yourself and then you're going to end up caught up. Beware of the leaven of the Herod. Herod is the one that actually is known to be the killer of visions, the killer of your dreams. It's the ego. And they reasoned among themselves. Reasoning is the left side of the brain. It's generally associated with logic and reasoning. So we know which right and left hemisphere he was dealing with within his own mind. And he talks about baskets. Baskets actually means gathering of an abundance and nurturing, connecting to your own nature, your own natural cycle of life. So he's done it before. He got into the boat again, but in this particular time, he didn't. It's like, he's like, what are y'all not understanding? Like, you've seen me do this before. So now I'm gonna go heal a blind man. You're not able to see. They weren't seeing it. So he had to remove the dirt off of their eyes. You haven't been able to manifest because you can't see the value of feeding yourself enough bread, enough expansive thought. You think that, oh, a little is it's enough. I don't need to do more than just a little bit. You're doing it to yourself due to a lack of focus and patience, not appreciating the importance and the ability to develop the discipline inside of you to allow expansive thought to rise. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, love. When you say what you say to yourself, within yourself, about yourself, Every limitation that we have in our mind ends up becoming restrictions in our own bodies, in our own physical world. And it doesn't allow the energy to circulate and fully rise. Distorted thinking causes double-mindedness. And what is double-mindedness? What is distorted thinking? Well, you think about this glass right here of green water. This is what distorted thinking looks like. And we know that our bodies are made up of 70% water. So if you have distorted thinking, the water is it's not pure. It's not clear. And so even if you try to take the water out and put new water into a dirty glass, you still get green water. Keep the waters pure. The body is definitely just an interesting thing because it's the only manifestation of God's knowledge himself. The body is the effect of God's thought. Our bodies are literally made in his own likeness and his own image. The idea of this universal subconscious mind, ever evolving, ever expanding idea, constantly moving and constantly changing. We know this because nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates through cycles. And so when we lack patience, when we lack that, we don't allow things to properly grow and to rise and to sprout. And we don't manifest. Manifestation is pregnancy also, because everything has a gestation period. This is the law of gender. It's the balancing of two energies coming together for co-creation. It's also ecstasy. Like there's a climax, there's a satisfaction that happens when you already know that something is done. You're not feeding yourself your own bread, your own mana, because of laziness, because you're killing your own dreams before they even get a chance to bake. We end up aborting our own dreams and tossing it aside like a stale crumb. It reminds me of the sabotage that happened with the story of Isis, Osiris, Horus, and Set. Now, again, because the Bible is a book, a manual of the mind, a lot of people take Egyptian spirituality as mythology or direct literal interpretations of it. Isis, Osiris, and Horus were an example of the mind as well. Set tricked Horus into climbing into this wooden box, and he went down the stream, and then Isis resurrected him. And during that time of the first resurrection, she ended up becoming pregnant with Horus. And then Set ended up chopping his body up into pieces and spreading it amongst the earth. And then she remembered his body. He remembered left and the right side of the brain, remembering who he was, and then finally gave birth to Horus, Jesus, and so Horus eventually was able to rise to his power because light always wins. And this is why it's so important to stay focused so that you can develop the eye of Horus. Thy eye be single so that thy whole body be filled with light. It's the same story, y'all. I don't even know which way to slice it, to dice it. Right? Another reason why you can't manifest is because you're too attached to the outcome for the wrong reasons. I'm gonna say that again. You're too attached to the outcome for the wrong reasons. Whether you're attached to controlling how it happens, right? Like you don't want to give something up. You're too in control of the way that it looks. Oh no, it can't be this because it has to be this particular way. And I was talking to my sis yesterday, and she was sharing with me a parable. Maybe you've heard it, where there's a guy in the ocean and he's hanging on, and he prays to God that God come and save him. So then a boat comes by and the boat offers to save him. He's like, no, I'm praying to God. I'm waiting for God to save me. And then another person comes by to try to save him. He's like, no. And then a huge ship comes by and tries to save him. Well, eventually the guy, he drowns and he dies. And when he gets to heaven, God is like, what are you doing here? He's like, God, I was waiting for you to save me. And God is like, bruh, I sent you 3 boats. You didn't get in any one of them. So sometimes we're so attached to it having to go and look a certain way that we're not even manifesting because we think that we somehow are in control of the way that it looks. That's the wrong reason. And some of us are attached to manifesting or not able to attach to manifesting because of the outward status and appearance of it, right? Those are do anything for clout, do anything for clout. You know, the appearance that it gives, the status that it gives. And those individuals really, really, really need to learn how to release attachments. It's the same concept of a rich guy entering the eye of a needle. And some people take that literally, like, how can a person actually enter into the eye of a needle? No, the eye of needle was an actual place where the gate was so small that you could not go through with any of your worldly possessions. Like, you can't take your camel with you, your backpack. Like, you yourself actually have to go through it. What is it for a man to gain the whole world but to lose his own soul? All things come through us, not to us. So you have to go through the gate. Instead of being like a Pharisee where you're focused on all these outwardly appearances and you want to manifest this success because of how many followers is going to get you or the money and all of this and how you could tell people and you can go and shit on them. Like, that's not how the universe works. You can't fake frequency. You can't fool frequency. Those types of people have been dismembered and they forgot who they were. Being attached to the physical, the material, the 3D fleshly body and the goods to the matter of everything and forgot that the mind creates matter. Yet you want to go be the matter. I don't want to be the mind. I'd rather be the matter. I'd rather be just the creation of the thought. Like, no, be of the world, not in it. Another reason why you're not manifesting is because you haven't learned the full integration. The spiritual with the physical and the physical with the spiritual. What do I mean by this? Have you ever seen when you have a new baby and they're frustrated as they're learning to take their first steps? They can't walk, they can't talk, but because they're not fully integrated into their body. The first few years are spent maneuvering its apparatus because the transmitter between the physical and the spiritual states depend upon the physical body. It's incapable, the body is incapable of ever having the knowledge of speech without learning how to maneuver the operator. Therefore, the body is an integral part of the whole as it is identical to the nature of the whole. And I love the homie Jesus because he was so in his Christ consciousness. You know, he was not trying to teach people to follow him. He was trying to teach people how to wake up, how to manifest. He knew how to manifest and perform miracles because he saw that the mind and the body are one. I and my Father are one. And what does Father mean? The etymology of the word Father means first cause, first mover, which is the first cause. We know that thought is the cause. So I and my thoughts are one. Understanding that 95% of our reality is the subconscious, the super subconscious. It's the space, it's the dark matter. You can't see it. Like, the air in this room is actually taking up more space than the physical matter objects, for example. And we're directly connected to that source. Nothing can separate you from the love of God. And love is the highest frequency because infinity is absolute divinity and cannot be divided. Infinity is absolute divinity and cannot be divided. Nothing can divide you or separate you from that which you are connected to. I and my Father are one. You are fashioned from the same intelligence of God. made in his own likeness and image, the imagination in the mind of God. You are one with the intelligence of God. I and my Father are one. You need only to rub the mud from your eye, as Jesus did in Mark 8, to clear the wax from your ear, to check what you allow yourself to listen to develop the disciple of hearing like Simon Peter did, the Simon Peter within yourself. The universal God has us cradled in his everlasting arms, a universal so loving and so attentive that it responds to our every thought, our every mood, our every need, and our every desire. As you are fully integrated with it and it is integrated with you, you either work in accordance with it and the power that is within you, or you're in opposition with it. The laws of this universe reveal to us all that God is and all that God was and ever will be. The same thought, the same God today, yesterday, and tomorrow. When you learn to work with the laws of the universe, you remember, you reconfigure your own power. Then you realize with your real eyes, your single eye, you realize with your real eyes that greatness is here, that abundance is here, that love is already here. We just have to claim our divine right to it here and now, and to be the cause and to have dope effects. To integrate, not hesitate. Integrate, don't hesitate. Go ahead and manifest and get your bread. Remember, I and my Father are one. Peace out. Till next time, y'all.